Okay, then. I should call to order. Town of Emerald Planning Board for Monday, August 6, 2024. Roll call.
Ethan Parker.
Here.
Todd Cannon.
Here.
Chad McAvery.
Here.
Ken Sullivan.
Here.
Susan Manette. Andrea Beasley.
Here.
And Jim Dabovic.
Here. Okay, first item on the agenda, second item, actually third, approval of the July 22nd, 2024 Planning Board minutes. They're much simpler and much shorter. Anybody have any changes or corrections?
I didn't notice any gnashing of teeth because you were sad that we weren't there. I'm kind of depressed about that. Like, I would think y'all would be mourning our absence. There was none of that in the minutes. Nothing. Sorry, move along, Kenny.
It's because we were dancing, partying, complete
Yeah,
opposite.
you did more stuff. I had to get a cheer for it.
The
If there are
keg
no
was in
changes,
the
we have
back
a motion.
Motion to approve July's meeting minutes.
As written. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next item on the agenda, a review of requests. I'm just going to turn it right over to Chris to let him explain it.
Pardon? Greg, can you put the, yeah, thank you, sir. Okay. So tonight we are going to discuss feather flags for well, I guess that really should say temporary feather flags for nonprofit organizations. So give you an idea why we're here. During the August 13th regular meeting of the Emerald Board of Commissioners, they unanimously approved a motion instructing planning staff and the planning board to review the town sign regulations pertaining to feathered flags for nonprofit organizations. Just to give you an idea what the code currently says, we've got different excerpts from the code. This one exempts temporary signs or banners as defined in Chapter 10. So looking at Chapter 10, how it defines, that's essentially what I've highlighted or underlined is, you know, we do permit temporary signs in both 58 right-of-way and then also town streets for a temporary period of time that has to be constructed of plastic, wood, metal, vinyl, or other rigid material intended to be displayed in informed public of a usual or special event sponsored by a nonprofit, public, charitable, religious organization. So that kind of sums it up as far as what our current code has. And then, of course, prohibition, we do prohibit. It's labeled as wind-activated devices, but feathered flags are not permitted throughout town. Even though, yes, there are some. We went to the board, got clarification on enforcement, and we're working on that part of it. Just to give an idea of some of the past measures town staff and elected officials have done on this subject. So the earliest I could come up with, 2016, was when they drafted up that definition for temporary signs and basically took out banners or anything else. They just said, hey, look, if you're going to do a special event, you're going to do a nice rigid sign that's in the right of way just for a temporary period of time. So that's essentially, I'm not really I could not find how long it was debated, but that was the end result of what they came up with. Also in 2022, the Board of Commissioners approved a motion to allow town events on those black light poles. You got those little banner signs. So that's only limited to town events, not nonprofit. So the purpose of all that is to give you guys an idea of what options are available to these nonprofits, be it a town event or a nonprofit, some other event. one thing that staff did put together in preparation, just give an idea of, now granted, this was a very 5-minute brainstorming prior to this meeting, but, you know, other nonprofits out there other than town events, you've got Parrot Head Club, they have roughly about 5 events annually, Fishing for a Cure, Pink Houses, Cousin Eddie's Misplaced Mutts, Fishing Tournament, or our fishing tournament. And then we
It
got,
classifies as a town event, though.
yeah, that classifies as a town event.
But will it
It's not
still,
board.
because we went nonprofit, we're a nonprofit now, officially of last week.
Yeah, okay.
That's why this is all.
We had to for several reasons. One is money's getting to be a large amount, and once you
Okay.
hit $100,000, we had to go nonprofit. And we're not quite there, but we're getting close, and it just made more sense to go ahead and do it.
Okay.
So we are
So it's
officially
no longer
nonprofit.
a town event.
Correct.
I think where some of this is coming from because of some of the banners and stuff for the nonprofit for the fishing tournament. Town's still gonna be involved. It's a charitable event for the community, for the town of Emerald Isle. But the banners on the flagpoles are not, it's a nonprofit now. So, on the light poles.
And those banners are up.
So
And those banners are up on every other pole.
Yeah, those technically,
the Board of Commissioners did not instruct us to look at that part. It was just the feather flag conversation.
Yeah.
So likely now granted, this is what they made a motion on, is not anything that's in our code. It's just more or less town policy on how they do it. So it would likely, you know, Mark Taylor's heavy with that organization. I'm sure he's already had.
I'm on the board.
Yeah,
Yeah, several of us.
sure. So I'm sure he's already had that conversation on the banner flags. But the question is there an interest to consider changing the code to allow feather flags, temporary feather flags for nonprofit charitable organizations or events?
That's just in the right of way.
Yes.
They can be put on,
They cannot put it, so,
like at the boat ramp, on that property. Not on the right of way, but in the parking lot.
our sign code prohibits feather flags,
Anywhere.
correct?
Okay.
So a feathered flag's the one that stick in the ground and stick up
Yeah.
and.
Yep.
Swansboro did away with them years ago, and then we started following.
Yeah,
They're feather shaped, they stand up.
the push or the, you know, it's always, no one wants to become the next Myrtle Beach. And that seems to be one of the ideas of Myrtle Beach has a bunch of feather flags. I usually go there in the wintertime because I don't like the crowds in the summertime, so I wouldn't know that. But that's the concept. You just want to keep the family-friendly environment.
Yeah, but if it's just for nonprofits, I mean, we're looking, what, 10 nonprofit events a year?
Possibly, yes.
yeah, but if they're allowed to be displayed 60 days prior to an event.
Well, that's just what it
that-
is right now. I wouldn't have approved 60 days. I mean,
Right. That would encompass the whole year.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
That's what I mean.
Yeah, it's 60 times.
I mean, 30 days is plenty of fun events.
Still a hook.
now keep in mind that they have other options. They have a rigid sign.
Sure.
You know, the one that pops in my head, I've seen, the Parrot Head Club, they put theirs out. It's just this real nice wood sign. So they do have that option.
Okay.
So it's not that they have no option. It's just, do we consider feather flags or do we keep the code the way it's written?
I mean, on a shorter scale, I don't mind the feather flag for, let's call it 2 weeks. It draws attention, does things like that for a good cause. But yeah, that 60 days, even 30 days is
Yeah,
a
that's-
little bit long.
Are there rules about where they can put them in the right of way? Like how close to the edge of the road so that? I
I'm
don't know.
pretty sure that stated the distance up there. When you had it up there earlier, it had numbers on it.
Let's go back. I think both me and Greg are trying to. We'll stop now. Yeah, 30 days prior.
And I just seen those numbers, 24 square feet or,
That's the size of the
3
flag.
days from completion of the event, the sign must be removed. Essentially, in most cases, they plug in there, you cannot put a sign where you're obstructing the view of, making a dangerous intersection. And if anything, we can rule on just the side triangle, ensure that that's preserved and all that.
So can a feathered flag even stay up very long?
Absolutely.
I mean, there's
Yeah, the way they're attached to
churches
the
that put them
ground,
up
if they're
all the time.
attached properly.
Yeah,
If not, they could become a wind-driven device that goes into right-of-ways and walking areas and pedestrian areas. I think I remember us talking about that 2 years ago. I feel like that was one of the reasons why we
2022.
voted it down, was for the public safety aspect of it. And we always have wind in Emerald Isle, it's always blowing 15 or 20.
My recollection,
part is it-
at some point, we passed a temporary,
Are some feathered flags longer than others, taller than others? I mean, you're getting into all that too. We already have an ordinance that states what your sign is. I think that should be what it should be. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, because the feathered flag doesn't
If we were
really
to-
portray Emerald Isle character, in my
Really
opinion,
doesn't.
of what
Kind of swamp.
we've always looked like and what I think the most of the town wants to look like. You know, I don't see a feathered flag being something that we, like a Myrtle Beach, kind of a, I don't know a good way of putting it, someone's gonna stop, but.
I would say
It's a charitable
to
event.
allow them at all, I would think maybe the day of the event to just kind of designate that's where the event is or
Right.
something like that, but not
Yeah.
a longer term than that, I don't think.
Are they allowed on their property the day of the event currently? None, period.
Still a sign ordinance.
Yeah.
regardless.
well,
Yeah, our
The
code
wind-
is.
wind driven, plain not allowed. I think a flag is the only exception.
Well, see,
And the idea of that is we don't want one of those blowing man on top of every building.
To
Whatever
be bluntly honest, in the code, it doesn't even allow those flags that say open that, people put on there. And that's one of the things we're working on, ensuring that everybody's complying.
Correct.
Because it says specifically, if it's a flag, it's got to be a non-advertising flag. And then the definition for what non-advertising, you can't say it's open, you can't say toys, you can't say
Half-price sale.
seafood or anything like that.
If it's
Buy one, get
non-advertising, what's the point?
The BOGO flag.
It's your American flag, that's about all you got.
Yeah, it's American flag or.
Town of Emerald Isle
Okay.
flag.
Non-profit.
Okay, I get it.
We put them up,
Yes.
we put them up for the fishing tournament.
I kind of like it. I mean,
Real outdoors.
I kind of like leaving it
But
like
that's
it is.
advertising.
Yeah, I don't like,
I-
I'm not a fan, I
The
like
day of the
clean.
event, just so you know how to get to where you're going.
But they also, we have signs for that, rigid,
Correct.
nice, clean,
Yeah,
professional
yeah,
looking
yeah.
signs versus,
Arrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
this
yeah.
way.
I'm just gonna stop.
I'm the same way.
Yeah, you're
I don't
right.
like the blowing ones, like if you, I ride a bike, or if you run, like if you're on the side of the road, I'm like having to share the road with a bunch of other people, and that's just one more thing. And I also have a he just turned 16. And everything distracts the boy, so,
Distraction. It's a distraction.
everything.
It's a distraction. It's a
Yeah,
distraction.
exactly. Probably not flag.
I think for safety reasons, for aesthetics, and just the way the town character is, I would make a motion to leave the sign ordinance as currently written, disallowing feathered or wind-driven advertising devices, flags.
I second the motion.
Okay, were you making a motion?
I went all in.
Okay,
We made a motion.
we repeat that motion?
Make a motion to keep the ordinance as written, disallowing wind-driven flags, devices, advertisement, whatever the technical
Is it-
term is.
I kind of have another question on that. I mean, I'm probably going to agree with you guys, but where did this stem from? Is there, I mean,
So, the last board meeting, we approached the board, because we're struggling trying to enforce the flag code for these feather flags for commercial businesses. We get one to take down and then they see someone down the road put one up. Oh, well, if they can, they put it back
Okay,
up.
so people are using them.
Yeah, people are using them.
I probably like not observant.
Yeah, we've got some flagrant users that we're working on getting it squared away. Hey, look, you got away with it for this long, but we're
They're
enforcing
in
it.
use now, and they're trying to get it legal.
Or
Well,
just,
it just spawned, it started with that conversation with the board to ensure that they supported the enforcement of the code, and they did unanimously. And from that, they were just like, well, we've been toying around with
non.
maybe granting exemptions for nonprofits for temporary signs. And that's where, it's before you guys for consideration, so.
But we have a lot of other options
Yes,
for
we do.
signs anyway, so.
There are.
And then I feel like what you were saying, if Bobby does it, well, I might not know that Bobby is a nonprofit. Well, if he gets to do it, why don't I get to do it? I think that
Yeah.
opens the door to a lot of he said, she said, and then enforcement just becomes a nightmare. So just,
Yeah, the herd mentality is
Better.
crazy on these, so.
Well, I'm ready to go on with that.
Perfect.
I just wanted to just clarify a little bit more.
No doubt.
Second is Lincoln?
I think I already.
I already seconded.
She seconded.
Okay. All right. We've got a motion on the floor to not allow wind-driven devices, including feather flags. Not allowing them, even on a temporary basis. Any other discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. I didn't vote. I'm not going to vote against my own flag, tournament flag. With that, the motion carries 6-0. Thank you, everybody. Next item, number 6, report from planning director.
All right, what you have before you is just a copy of the highlights from July 24. We've got 5 new / redeveloped single-family dwelling permitted in that month. We got 4 CAMA permits, so forth and so on. We did 67 site visits, including CO, code enforcement, CAMA, dunes and veggies, where we have to ensure that they flag the natural area. And then below is just a list of current code enforcement cases that we're working. And then just a summary of our July 22nd meeting of the planning board. And then on other comments, the next Board of Commissioners meeting is scheduled for September 10th of this year, and then your next meeting is the 23rd of September. That's all I have.
Question. How did it go with our recommendation to the board for the satellite merchant regulation? Did that pass and or get tabled again, or what?
It's going before the board this next coming meeting
Okay.
in September.
And are these all of the current violations that are out that you guys are working on, or is there some other ones that just, is that just for July, I mean, or hasn't done August in that, or is that just?
Yeah, I mean, we've got some to add to that. That's
Okay.
just from the list that would, I put together this list at the end of each month to give to the town manager and then initially the Board of Commissioners. So make sure, the town data for our work as far as the department is good for the planning board to review as part of the process too, so.
Okay.
so this doesn't include August, sorry.
Yeah, we've got new ones that they'll likely come up in August.
month.
I think some driveway issues and some other things.
Yeah. Okay, just curious.
I want to make a comment about 5204 Emerald Drive, the last thing on the violations list,
Is that your house?
abandoned home. So it's not mine. It's near it.
It's Kenny's house.
It kind of looks that way sometimes. House does not look habitable. That house, as I recall, is in the Emerald Isle 50th anniversary book. It's one of the first houses in Emerald Isle. It's got an aerial picture of it. It's called the Blue House. And there's not a tree around it. And today, you can't get to it without a machete and a chainsaw. People used to use it, David, to bring landscapers in there once a year to carve out a tunnel in the brush and trees so they could get a car to it. One-story blue house. I think it was built in the 50s. If you look at that book, you'll see it in there. I just wanted to make a mention of that.
And it's one of the original houses.
Kenny wants to put a plaque on it.
No, I want
You're
to
gonna put a plaque on
I
it?
want to put a plaque on it. Like, we need to keep
It
the
might knock it
original
over.
houses.
It might knock it over. We don't want to knock
We
it
need to
over.
rebuild the existing original house.
It's not gonna be up to code. We're gonna have to change it all.
If we put a sign on it, they'll come to the Board of Adjustment to redo something. Okay. Last item on these, any other comments there on the directors? Okay. Next item on the agenda, board comments.
No comment? No comment.
Still here. Keep up the good work, Chris. Thank you.
I'm
See
all
you
good.
next month.
No comment.
I've got a comment and a question. Can I borrow your time machine? I just want to use it to go get the next 4 or 5 Super
You wanna go back to
Bowls,
the future?
You want to
Daytona
go to 20?
races, Double A Final Four, kind of get a heads up on who might win and what the score would be.
Just,
Kenny, I've been to that year, it's not worth it.
he's back.
Okay.
I returned.
He's got the sports book with him though.
I wish.
Okay. One of our favorite items on our agenda, motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Yes.
Meeting adjourned, 6:26 PM.